Anyways, let's get into some climate change news. Let's get into some climate change news. Where are we? So, obviously, it's very warm in the U.S. and the south of the U.S. Uh, dangerous heat wave impacting nearly 50 million. Very high temperatures. I didn't really want to see that. Sorry, guys. I was just trying to show you this map. But we're going to X that out. Hold on. Lights dim and worries mount as a heat wave roasts California. Anyways, very quickly, that map was just showing over 100 degrees, almost across the entire south of the country, from Florida to California. Up into North Dakota was going to hit like 96. Overwhelmed by demand, California's power grid imposed rotating blackouts while the coronavirus crisis created a dilemma for those who were unable to stay cool at home. A heat wave rolling through the Southwest has forced intermittent power shutoffs in California, a state already struggling with wildfires and a recent surge in coronavirus cases, raising fears that the rising temperatures could turn deadly. Californians used so much electricity to try and stay cool Friday night that the agency that oversees much of the state's power grid declared an emergency, and for the first time in 19 years, shut off power to hundreds of thousands of customers for several hours to avoid a damaging overload. Guys, I mean, we're talking about California, the richest state in the richest country in the nation. In the world. Having to shut down power. This is a sign of the future. This is the sign of times to come. When the planet warms to the point where they have these, long-term heat waves, people are unable to stay cool. Again, remember the heat wave in Europe of 2003 when so many people died, 30,000 people died because of excessive heat and no access to cooling, air conditioning. So, this is just a glimpse of the future. In parts of California and Arizona, thermometers are cracking 110. National Weather Service issued an excessive heat warning for much of the West Coast, including parts of Oregon and Washington State, and extending inland to Nevada, Utah, and Arizona. Sweltering heat comes as coronavirus cases are on the rise in California, which reported more than 65,000 new cases and about 950 related deaths over the past week. The health crisis may be deterring residents from gathering at cooling centers or at public places like malls and libraries, making people more susceptible to injury from the heat and driving up electricity demand as those who have air conditioners keep them running full blast. The pandemic is taking away one of the most critical resources for the most vulnerable, said David Hondula, a professor who studies heat at the Arizona State University. Even in cases where facilities haven't closed, people have to decide, do I stay home where I may be too hot, or do I go to a public or semi-public building where I may contract the virus? It's a tough dilemma for folks to deal with. Heat has been a deadly problem all summer in Maricopa County, Arizona, which includes the city of Phoenix. The country has already confirmed 25 heat-associated deaths and is investigating at least 222, which is about 100 more cases than those that were investigated last summer. Temperatures rose, or twice as many. Temperatures rose to a punishing 117 degrees in Phoenix on Friday and 113 on Saturday, and the Weather Service warned of a deadly heat wave, urging residents to cancel outdoor activities and operate air conditioning despite financial costs. I actually had a gig last night That was supposed to be outdoors in a park, and that got canceled because of poor air quality and excessive heat. Dry, hot conditions are also fueling wildfires in Southern California, where the lake fire has burned through 14,700 acres of land north of Los Angeles and destroyed 21 buildings, including sheds and garages. More than 1,563 firefighters are battling the blaze, which has forced evacuations and was only 12% contained as of Saturday morning. Robert Foxworthy, a spokesman for the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection, or CAL FIRE, said that while the heat could help the fire spread more quickly, it was having a bigger effect on the crews who were trying to suppress it. The things that affect a fire are wind, relative humidity, and heat, Mr. Foxworthy said. Heat is the smallest player when affecting fire behavior, but I would say, really? Are you sure about that? But I would say heat is the biggest factor affecting the performance of the firefighters. Really, Mr. Foxworthy? How is it the smallest factor? I don't know. I don't know about that statement there. Anyways, guys, that's happening in California. Renee Michelle celebrating 3 years of living with less in tropical heaven. Congratulations. Kay Becker, Washington State, got to 80, no big deal. Realize says 95 degrees every day for 6 weeks in the forests of Pennsylvania, according to thermometers, not media. LOL. Okay. Interesting. Renee Michelle, I was lucky to get my kids out of Los Angeles. Good on you. Gwen Lee, 4th year in Mexico, 2 years in Hawaii before. Yes, living with way less. The dude says it's true. Heat is a big factor in setting the conditions for the fires, but not so much once they get started. Sure, I could see that. But yeah, I mean, it's got to contribute to the conditions for the fire starting. So it's just a weird statement to me. Let's move on. Hold on one second. Again, out of California, rare firenado, or a fire tornado, spotted in California as heat wave scorches state. The big concern is that it's extremely erratic fire behavior, said meteorologists with the National Weather Service. This is from yesterday. A rare fiery tornado was spotted in California on Saturday near the Nevada border, where a large wildfire and excessive temperatures created a perfect but dangerous storm. Excessive temperatures, I guess that would be heat. Created a perfect but dangerous storm. Fire tornado, or firenado, prompted a tornado warning from the National Weather Service in Reno shortly before 3 p.m. near the Loyalton fire, which started in Sierra County in the Tahoe National Forest. The big concern is that it's extremely erratic fire behavior, said John Middlestat, a Reno-based meteorologist with the National Weather Service. For any of the firefighters who are working on one flank of the fire, all of a sudden there's no way to predict what the winds are going to do or how strong they're going to be. He added, the fire near Loyalton that started Saturday had burned more than 2,000 acres by evening. Firenados are created when rising hot air from the fire becomes twisted by winds, changing direction much like the more common land tornado. The difference between a regular tornado and the firenado, however, is that winds combine with smoke plumes to create especially dangerous conditions, although uncommon firenados do happen. and now you know. Again, more from Northern California. Just a quick tour around the San Francisco Bay Area via Alert Wildfire Camera Network, and an alarming number of lightning-sparked fires. So there's been a lot of lightning in the Bay Area being reported yesterday. Alarming number of lightning. Again, lightning is also another phenomenon that is increased with climate change, or global warming, if you will, whatever you like. Lightning is ongoing across the region and could continue for much of the day, as well as hot temperatures. There's that. The heat is on, says Realize. G. Demarest got roasted shark fire NATO. How you doing, Jennifer Elizabeth? Poppy Davis, post-doom isn't giving up, it's living differently. No, living in the now. I agree. Exactly. I feel as if I'm I'm post-doomy. I'm doomy, but I'm living in the awareness and living in the now, and also living in the change. And I'm willing to accept, some ideas that may help in our situation, right? I'm not so doomy that I'm like, give it up. I'm not that doomy. Shut up. old school movie classics mixed with climate change. This is if Doomers weren't an old school black and white movie classic. You're all wet. John Ziggy Kelleher, the tornado report is not supported by science. Okay. Alrighty. Banty Potter, how you doing? Hello. Thanks, Sandy. Okay, Banty, we got you. We got you. Or not. I don't know if you're going to keep saying that. We got a bot. Maybe that's a bot. Maybe so. Hello. We're going to hide you. Banty, I said your name and now you're gone. Bye-bye. Just a little too much there. Judy Truitt, is there a country now that doesn't have rioting people in it? Good question. I don't know. Are they rioting in Canada? Are they rioting in Austria? Who knows? A lot of countries have a lot of rioting going on though, or protesting of some sort. Costa Rica, how about you guys? Are you rioting? Are you protesting? Anyways, let's move on. This is out of Bloomberg Green. Make it, because if you make it green, go green. Climate change packs twice as many storms into hurricane season. You don't say. This is from yesterday. The heavy part of the Atlantic hurricane season won't start for another week, right? We're not even into quote unquote hurricane season, and we've already had 11 named storms. So, I don't know. Hold on to your socks. Atlantic hurricane records go back to 1851, and in all that time, the ocean has never piled up so many storms in such a short span as this year. Could it be global warming? So far, 11 storms have formed since May. This is now the earliest date on record for a storm with a K name. Has there been a hurricane, Kevin? Come on. After meteorologists identified Tropical Storm Kyle on Friday 5 have hit the U.S., and the current pace eclipsed 2005, infamous 2005, when Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans, when a record 28 storms, including Hurricane Katrina, roared out of the Atlantic. While 2020 storms have been weak, the lack of fierceness won't come as a relief to anyone in New York or the Northeast who lost power. They did indeed. And lots of downed trees, by the way, from that storm. That storm actually wreaked a lot of havoc in the Northeast, in New York, New Jersey, etc. They lost power for the better part of a week after Hurricane Isaias. Storm season in the Atlantic hasn't really started yet. On paper, annual risk of hurricanes runs from June 1 to November 30, but longtime observers know that things don't really get heavy until the end of August. Bill Gray, the late Colorado State University professor, who pioneered seasonal hurricane forecasting, would walk through his offices ringing a bell on August 20, reminding students that the real season was just beginning. The weeks from about August 20 to the end of September are when the Atlantic between the Caribbean Sea and Cabo Verde off the coast of Africa becomes supercharged. The stretch of ocean is called the Main Development Region, or MDR, and it's where the vast bulk of history's most deadly, destructive, and infamous hurricanes have been born. As a result of climate change, which has raised global average temperatures around 1 Celsius or more, if you're, depending on what kind of data you're looking at or the baseline, meteorologists have been warily updating their seasonal forecasts. A warmer than normal Atlantic combined with decreased wind shear across the basin has created consensus that there will be more storms. Earlier this month, Colorado State increased its August outlook to 24 storms, up from 20 in July. The next day, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration increased its outlook to a spread of 19 to 25, up from 13 to 19 in May. Forecasters working for the federal government have never called for 25 storms in a single season before, said Gary Bell, lead forecaster with the U.S. Climate Prediction Center. How would those tallies for 2020 stack up against an average season? It would be like undergoing 2 complete seasons in a single year. The 30-year average is for 12 storms to be named in a single 6-month Atlantic season. The system is named when its winds reach 39 miles per hour or 63 kilometers, and it becomes a tropical storm. An interesting side note is that many of this year's weaker storms have garnered some criticism of the National Hurricane Center. The assertion, often repeated by climate change deniers, is that the storms are being named now that wouldn't have been named in the past, thus upping the numbers. It's a spurious claim, according to Luis Uccellini, director of the National Weather Service. We have not changed the criteria of actually naming storms, he says. We just have better ways of identifying them. The Weather Service currently has a relatively new geostationary satellite looking down on the Atlantic that can show weather in granular detail. The images are so precise that Uccellini often pulls out his phone to show off the pictures the Weather Service is getting from outer space. That's just one of the tools forecasters use when naming these storms. As August winds down, people from Texas to New England shake off the damage from the storms that have already dropped on their heads. Chances are they haven't even seen the half of it. There you go. There you go. We have 153 watching, 55 likes. Please like up the video. If you are subscribed, please subscribe. Or new to the channel, please subscribe. Where's my brain today? I think it's getting warm. The needle on the thermometer is edging towards 100, and I can't think. If you're subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. Actually, there are so many unsubscribe bots are hitting my channel every day, right? So I get a few people kicked off my channel every day, or pretty regularly. So if you're subscribed to the channel, you get kicked off. Subscribe. That's what I was trying to say. Bloomberg has green, indeed. Indeed he does. Thank you, Jody Brown. Keith Hayes, have we been testing for storms? No testing, no storms. Indeed, exactly. Creative experiments. NASA has all the real-time measurements of everything. No need for fake math models. You can see the destruction real-time. Go to NASA's website. Indeed, I often go to NASA's website just to, just to look at reality. Sultan Bev in the UK, Boris is abolishing poverty by stopping measuring it. Indeed, that's one way to do it. Just like climate change, if you don't actually give people the data or the measurements or the temperatures, maybe it's not happening. Judy Truitt, didn't Bloomberg run on a climate change platform? Well, he was running on a platform that admitted that climate change was a thing, and that he is one of those billionaires that is like, I care about climate change and I'm going to do things to fix it. But he has the billionaire blinders on, right? Which is like, what we really need to do to fix it is not going to be allowed to be discussed, right? It's all about, the Green New Deal, green energy, green renewables. If we just do a little bit of tinkering around the edges, we'll be fine. Curo Hikes, we could have fixed climate change by destroying all our thermometers. Problem solved. You're welcome. Thank you. Fairy dust, I'm sharing you to anyone who will listen. I'm tired of knowing alone. Thank you. Please do. Feel free. Let's move into a couple more things. This is from Larry 79115 from Twitter. Here's an update on Earth Null School data pasted on Polar Portal sea ice thickness charts. The melting point for sea ice is minus 1.8 C. As you can see, there's lots of above temperatures. Above minus 1.8 C. There's lots of almost there. Right there in the Arctic. All over the Arctic. 1.1, 0.9, 2.1, 1.1. I mean, that's where we're at. And we have meter thickness here. Lots of 1 meter or below thickness. Not much in the 2.5 meter range. That's from August 14th. Here's a little more. Here's sea ice temperatures posted, data posted on Polar Portal charts. Golly. And yes, since August 12, there are anomalous temperature readings showing up of -2 and now -1.9. So there you go. Moving on. This is from August 13th. Warming Greenland ice sheet passes point of no return. Even if the climate cools, study finds glaciers will continue to shrink. Yeah. Nearly 40 years of satellite data from Greenland shows that glaciers on the island have shrunk so much that even if global warming were to stop today, the ice sheet would continue shrinking. This is from Laura Arenshield of Ohio State News. The finding published today, August 13th, in the journal Communications, Earth, and Environment means that Greenland's glaciers have passed a tipping point of sorts, where the snowfall that replenishes the ice sheet each year cannot keep up with the ice that is flowing into the ocean from glaciers. We've been looking at these remote sensing observations to study how ice discharge and accumulation have varied, said Michaela King, lead author of the study and researcher at the Ohio State University's Bird, Polar, and Climate Research Center. And what we found is that the ice that's discharging into the ocean is far surpassing the snow that's accumulating on the surface of the ice sheet. King and other researchers analyzed monthly satellite data from more than 200 large glaciers draining into the ocean around Greenland. Their observations show how much ice breaks off into icebergs or melts from the glaciers into the ocean. They also show the amount of snowfall each year, the way these glaciers get replenished. The researchers found that throughout the 1980s and 90s, snow gained through accumulation in ice, melted or calved from glaciers, were mostly in balance, meaning they were replenished every year. Keeping the ice sheet intact, though, through those decades, the researchers found the ice sheets generally lost about 450 gigatons of ice each year from flowing outlet glaciers, which was replaced with snowfall. We are measuring the pulse of the ice sheet, how much ice glaciers drain at the edges of the ice sheet, which increases in the summer. And what we see is that it was relatively steady until a big increase in ice discharging to the ocean during a short 5 to 6 year period, King said. The researchers' analysis found that the baseline of that pulse, the amount of ice being lost each year, started increasing steadily around the year 2000. So that the glaciers were losing about 500 gigatons each year. Snowfall did not increase at the same time, and over the last decade, the rate of ice loss from the glaciers has stayed about the same, meaning the ice sheet has been losing ice more rapidly than it's being replenished. Pretty simple to understand, right? Glaciers have been sensitive to seasonal melt for as long as we've been able to observe it, with spikes in ice discharge in the summer, she said, but starting in 2000, you start superimposing that seasonal melt on a higher baseline, so you're going to get even more losses. What's that we were just talking about yesterday? When it gets warmer, well, it gets warmer. When the earth heats up, well, the ice melts. When the temperature goes up, the ice goes down. That's, global warming. When the earth gets hotter, the temperatures get hot, you know what I'm saying? Takes a lot of scientists working all together in a team, looking at all the data. And what they've concluded is that when it gets hot, it gets hotter. Hey guys, remember to like, share, and subscribe, and you can support the channel at the links below, PayPal, Patreon, Square. Also, if you'd like to watch the live streams, you can watch the live streams on my Patreon channel. You can subscribe for as little as $1. So hopefully I will see you over there, and thanks so much.